Hey guys, Crystal here. Welcome back to part 2 of our Learning Everything About Frostpunk video. Today we're going to be discussing and showcasing all of the different structures within the game, and I'm going to be giving you a very brief overview of what they're about. So let's go ahead and get that started. This is just kind of to show you guys what everything is. So let's do that. This is the generator. This is the main structure of your game. This is where you control all of the heating settings for your entire city. This is the heart of Frostpunk. This is the heart of your city. If the generator dies, you lose. It's your main structure. Do your best to keep it alive. The next structures on our list are the residential buildings. There are 3 types of residential buildings. There's the tent, the bunkhouse, and the house. Each of them looks a little bit better than the previous version. Each of the higher tiers also have 1 additional heating level over the previous one. As you can see, this is chilly, this is livable, this is comfortable. We'll discuss those settings that you can see up here a little bit later in the heating episode. But yeah, for the most part, the better the residential area, the better the insulation's going to be, the warmer your people are going to be, and the happier and less sick they're going to be. That is what the structures look like, and just for the heck of it, let's zoom in and take a quick look at that. This is what the tents look like, this is what the bunkhouses look like, and this is what the houses look like. So there you go on that. Next building I'm going to show you is the child shelter. This is what those look like. You can pass a law to have child shelters and allow your children to become apprentices later on. We'll discuss that in the children episode. You can fit 15 children per child shelter. So next building on our list is the cemetery and the snow pit. This is the cemetery, and I'm going to cut away right now and show you the snow pit. This is what the snow pit looks like. And we're back. The next structure I'd like to show you is the fighting arena, and that's this thing right here. You want to place these fighting arenas within proximity of various residential buildings. Doing so gives them a discontent droppage. So people are less discontent when they're living near a fighting arena. If you can fit all your homes around a fighting arena, or multiple ones, you're going to have a good time. Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a quick look at what that looks like so I can show you. It's a cool little rink. There are actually some fun little animations when it's going on, and you can see those in your own game. So that covers all of the structures within the People tab here. Let's go ahead and move on to the Health tab. First building is the Medical Post. This is your first primary way of dealing with the people who are ill or sick in your city. You can have 5 engineers working there, and those 5 engineers will treat 5 patients. You do need to have at least 3 engineers employed to be able to treat at 100% efficiency. We will be discussing the efficiency tab, how exactly that works in the various episodes related to the medical efficiency, the cookhouse efficiency. We'll deal with those in their own separate episodes, but just know for the basic, 5 engineers employed, treats 5 patients, and you should be good. You can view the various tabs in the structure here. This is one of the first structures you're going to have that will allow you to use these tabs to micromanage your citizens a little bit better. As in, you can click the tabs and dismiss people from working there specifically to micromanage your entire city. That's more of an advanced tip, and we'll get around to that a little bit later. The next structure is the infirmary. The infirmary is an upgraded form of the medical post, and it is larger too. It can treat both the sick and the gravely ill, and it has twice the capacity and twice the healing speed. It is all around just better. Next structure is the care house. That's this thing here. This is how you deal with the gravely ill in your city and the amputees in your city before you have access to the infirmary. So basically you'll be coupling the medical post with the care house and dealing with all of your sick people that way for a little while. Once you get this guy though, this becomes obsolete. So that deals with the medical stuff. There is one more medical building, but we're going to touch on that in a later episode because that's for a different time. We'll get to that. Next tab is the food tab. This is what the cookhouse looks like. It's pretty simple. It's where you convert your regular food rations into or sorry, it's where you convert your food, raw food, into food rations. So it is a medium-sized structure, and you can employ up to 5 people there. It can be workers, engineers, or children if you have the child labor safe laws passed. Next structure is the hunter hangar. These can only be employed by workers. You can have 15 workers working there. There's a law you can pass to reduce that number to 10 with the same efficiency as you had with 15 before. The upgraded form of the hunter's hut are the hunter hangars, and these are, well, they're warmer and they give you more resources. What these do is you employ workers. They'll chill during the day, do nothing, sit, rest, and then at night they'll go get you some food that you can bring back and then cook it up in the cookhouse. That's what those look like, and they have some really fun animations that you can watch when you have these little balloons taking off, and yeah, I kind of like them. The other method to getting food in the game is with these hothouses and industrial hothouses. Now, these do cost steam cores, and in episode 1 I touched on how those are a little bit of a rare resource, but hothouses generate a consistent supply of raw food throughout the day, in contrast to the hunters' structures, which generate food during the night. This is what the hothouses look like, and if we zoom in, you can see that they're basically little tents that have food growing in them. You can see the vegetation growing inside of them. That's what those look like. So that should cover it for the food tab. Yes, it does. Next tab is the resource tab. Holy moly, this is a long one, so let's go ahead and get started on it. The first and most basic building on the resource tab is the resource depot. Now, as you start most of your games, you can store 900 coal and 300 of every other resource. Resource depots allow you to store more of whatever you choose. No, your citizens do not visit the resource depot. They don't have to be close to anything. They don't interact with your city in any way except for allowing you to have more storage for a specific type of resource. They are small. There's also a large version of the resource depot called the large resource depot. They are not as space efficient as the regular resource depot, as you can fit usually 4 small resource depots in the space of one large one, and then have some space left over. So they're not worth it for anything except for reducing the amount of buildings that you have in your city, which, you know, that's actually worth it to me, so I actually use them. That is what the large resource depots look like. We can zoom in on them if you'd like. They are big honking things. They've got some nice little animations going on with them if you watch. So, alright, the next item on our list that we're going to showcase is the Gathering Post. The Gathering Post is a warmer alternative to gathering resource piles off of the ground. It gathers resources at a faster rate than gathering them manually from the resource pile. However, you can gather from both the gathering post and the resource pile simultaneously. Likewise, having multiple gathering posts does increase your gathering speed and keeps people warmer and thus less sick. It is a good alternative to gathering manually. However, do things as you see fit. The next structure we're going to showcase is the sawmill. There are 2 versions of the sawmill. There's the regular sawmill and there's the steam sawmill. This regular sawmill gathers at a basic rate. The steam sawmill gathers at an increased rate and is more expensive, but it's also warmer and faster. So you use these to gather the lumber around your map, which is limited in every single map that you play on. These will run out eventually, so sawmills are a temporary way to get early wood. This is what they look like? Yeah. Next structure on our list is the wall drill. The wall drill is the permanent version of the sawmill. These are on every single scenario, and there are 3 versions of the wall mill. There's the regular wall drill, there's the steam wall drill, and there's the advanced wall drill, and each of those can be upgraded to the next version. And they will gather faster. They're a little bit more expensive, but they are warmer. They do, however, cost a steam core. These are your infinite wood solutions. Well, some maps the limit is 100,000, but for all intents and purposes, that's pretty much infinite. So the next structure is the Coal Thumper. Now, the Coal Thumper, it confuses some people. There are two versions of it. There's the Coal Thumper and the Steam Coal Thumper. What these do is they generate coal piles. Now, these coal piles operate just like the regular resource piles that you see over here. The Coal Thumper people who are employed here, be it workers or engineers, they do not gather this coal. They just make the coal piles. You have to employ people to gather at the coal piles, or employ people with a gathering post next to those coal piles to be able to gather it. Now, a regular Coal Thumper requires 2 gathering posts, and you will gather about as much as you make in one day. Likewise, a Steam Coal Thumper can generate as much as about 4 gathering posts can collect in one day, so there's where the upgrade lies there. And let's go ahead and just start the animation here so we can show you what they kind of sound like. Yeah. They're pretty cool looking structures. They're an easy way to get coal fast early, so they are useful. The next item on our list is the coal mine. The coal mine is a permanent solution to coal. Looks like this, and they are only placeable on actual coal deposits on your map, and those look like this. They allow you to gather coal infinitely throughout your game. There are 3 versions of the coal mine. There's the coal mine, here is the steam coal mine, and here is the advanced coal mine, and each one is slightly more expensive than the last. Each one is warmer than the previous version, but each one also gives you more resources than the previous version. So upgrade them as you see fit. You'll get more coal. You'll have a good time. We all want to have a good time, right? Next item on our list is the charcoal kiln. The charcoal kiln is its own thing. There are not many structures that act like this. What this structure does is it converts wood into coal. So if you have a surplus of wood in your city, you can burn it into coal, or charcoal, but it still counts as coal. And it'll get added to your stockpile. However, I do not recommend using this, except in very niche circumstances. You really do need all the wood that you can get, so I'm trying to be a little bit unbiased here, but I recommend not really using this structure very much, unless you really have to. But that's what the charcoal kiln does. It only employs 5 people. It converts quite a bit of 32 coal into 7 wood. We can take a look here at how much it does. 70 wood per standard workday consumed, 426 coal per workday created. So it tells you how much. That's what the charcoal kiln looks like. I think it's really cool what it looks like when you have a bunch of these next to each other. They are the most colorful structure in the game. The next structure we're going to showcase is the steelworks. Steelworks are how you get steel in the game. There's always an iron deposit, looks like this, on every map. You can make a steelworks, you can make an advanced steelworks, you can make a steam steelworks, and each one is warmer and more efficient than the last. So, yeah, and you can upgrade right on top of it. It's how you gather steel in the game. Pretty self-explanatory. And I believe that covers all of the resource structures in the game. Let's take a quick look through here and make sure we've covered them all. I do believe that we have. So, yeah, wall drills, sawmills gather wood, steelworks gather steel, coal thumpers, coal mines do the coal, all these other structures do their own things. Alright, I think we're good to move on to the technology section. The technology section. Workshops. They look like this. These are the most important structure, I would argue, in the entire game. You employ 5 engineers in each workshop, and each workshop that you employ, you know what, let me go ahead and find the tutorial because I want to show you exactly what that is. Here it is. First workshop gives you 100% research speed. 2 workshops adds 30%. Third one adds an additional 20%, and the fourth on each add 10% research speed. So the more workshops you have, the faster your research will go. It does have diminishing returns after during the first 4, and then it's 10% onwards for as many as you want to make. It does add up, though. You want to have as many engineers working in here as you can, because there is one heck of a technology tree to research. And we'll be discussing that in a future episode all of its own, but that's what the workshop looks like. And yeah, next structure we're going to talk about is the steam hub. What these steam hubs do, these little things right here, is they generate mini heat zones. We will be discussing heat zones in their own episode a little bit later. They're basically like mini generators. They generate their own heat zone. So they actually look like mini generators too. We can go ahead and show you what that looks like. Yep, this is what they look like. We can actually go inside, and it looks like a fun little flower or some crazy interdimensional portal. Anywho, next item on our showcase list is the beacon. The beacon is one of arguably the most important structures in the game. It's where you can make scouts from. Scouts can only be made from workers. I can make 1 scout, I can make 2 scouts, I can even make 3 scouts, and you can send these dudes out in your Frostland and gather a lot of resources. Only workers can be scouts, and this applies to all scenarios except for the Ark scenario, in which there are other options for scouts, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. The beacon, I'm going to go into Ansel mode, has a fun little thing hanging off of it, and it is a balloon that is way up there in the air. Fun fact, there is actually Morse code that blinks from this thing here, and you can solve a fun little message and get a fun little surprise with that. So, spoiling that for you. Next structure we're going to showcase is the factory. The factory is employed only by engineers. It can create automatons, it can create prosthesis, that's it. This is arguably a very important structure in the game, not the most important, but you do make automatons, and they can very much change how you play the game. So we'll be discussing the automatons in their own video, but we'll get to that when we get to it. For the next structure, I'm going to have to cut away to a different map. One moment. This is the Outpost Depot. It's only available on certain maps. However, you can have up to 2 of them, sometimes only 1, depending on the map. They are in predefined locations around the edge of the map, and you can use them to create outpost teams, to create outposts, to send various resources back to your city. Alright, and that covers all of the normal type buildings. We're going to go ahead and load up my showcase map for the purpose tree called Order. Now, Order is one of the 2 branches you can choose for your game, and there are some structures for this. One of them is the Watchtower. The Watchtower can be employed by workers and engineers, and it increases the hope slightly of anybody living around it. In this case, it's just this one guy. The upgraded form of the Watchtower is called the Guard Station, and the Guard Station both increases hope and lowers discontent of those living around it. You can have both, and their bonuses do stack. However, it's not truly necessary to do that. In most cases, you're going to just want to upgrade your Watchtower to a Guard Station. The next structure on the Order path is the prison. This is where you employ 10 people, and they can lock people up. There are a few laws associated with this, and we'll get to that eventually. The next structure on the Order path is the Agitator. This little guy increases the efficiency ever so slightly of the buildings that are around it. And the last structure on the Order path is the Propaganda Center. This can only be employed by engineers, gives you a instant hope button, and we'll discuss this more during the Order Showcase episode. Let's go ahead and move over to our Faith Showcase path. Here is our Faith City. The first structure is the House of Prayer. It gives you a couple instant hope buttons. It looks kind of like that. Next structure is the Temple. Gives you a few more hope buttons, and we'll talk about that more in the Faith episode. I do love the look of the Temple here. Next structure is the Faith Keepers. This is the Order equivalent of the Watchtower and Guard Stations. These are your people who maintain sanity within your city. We'll leave it at that for now. The next structure on the Faith Showcase is the Shrine. This little guy increases the efficiency of anybody within the zone. Next structure to showcase is the Field Kitchen. This little guy works differently than any other structure in the entire game. What this Field Kitchen does is, within the radius of the Field Kitchen, you can see here, so long as you have food in your city, it increases the heat level of the structures in it. You can see how that works here, and I'll show you. If I employ people in it, it increases the heat level of these two cookhouses here, and if I unemploy people, the heating is lowered a little bit. So that's what it does, is it increases the heat level of structures around it by 1. Think of it like a food-powered heater, kind of, only during the workday. So it's very interesting. We'll talk more about that during the Faith Showcase episode. And the final structure I'd like to showcase is the Execution Chamber. The Execution Platform. This is where you can burn people alive, and yeah, you use coal steam to, well, you get the point. And yeah, we'll leave that for the appropriate episode, but just know that there is an execution platform. I don't usually like executing people, but it is there, so anywho, I do believe that covers all of the various different structures, and I think we're going to call it good for this episode. I will see you all in episode 3. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.